Hello YouTube. In this video, I will explain how the new Poison set of Souljades works. Poison is the third element brought into Showdown as of Season 2.0. It works similarly to the other elements in that you accumulate them by hitting enemies. The rate that they accumulate depends on the amount of total wielding you have, with +6 wielding being the max you can have of an element. The damage that elements do is also determined by how much wielding you have. On screen is a chart displaying how elemental damage and accumulation rate changes based on the amount of wielding you have. Having +0 wielding makes you have no natural accumulation from that element. Souljades that have wielding in their actual name differ in that they have extra elemental accumulation for that element. Even if you have +0 wielding, you can accumulate an element with their respective wielding Souljades, albeit at a significantly slower rate. As far as accumulation of elements goes outside of wielding, generally the better the DPS an attack has, the better their accumulation rate is. An exception would be Aegis Break martial skills when you have the Aegis Break Rage potential glyph equipped in that the accumulation rate won't scale with it unless you also grab Flame Thunder Chant. However, unlike last season, Flame Thunder Chant only applies bonus accumulation for the Thunder element. That covers the basics of how elements function in Showdown. Now let's get on to the new element, Poison. Season 2.0 brings a total of 6 Souljades related to the Poison element. However, this video will only cover 5 of them as the 6th one is not recommended to build due to it being defensive in nature and having bad uptime when playing Poison optimally. These 5 Souljades are Cyan Fong Poison-Wielding, Noxious Blast, Infectious Touch, Pestilent Pool and Miasma Drive. Cyan Fong alters the third horizontal attack in your uncharged attack strings. Generally it increases the DPS of those attacks alongside granting a boost to poison element accumulation for that particular attack. On Viper Ning, Cyan Fong can be repeatedly used after the first one, and it also can be started from a defuse by pressing the horizontal attack button instead of vertical. Before I explain the legendary Souljades, it is important that I cover the Toxified Status effect. Toxified is not to be confused with elemental damage, and instead functions similarly to burn. It does roughly 15% of the base damage that Poison Blast does per stack, lasts for 30 seconds and stacks up to 6 times. When you reach max stacks of Toxified, a wide-range blast strike occurs. I will be calling this blast strike, Toxin Blast. If you have the Poisonous Assault potential glyph enabled, the max stacks to activate Toxin Blast is lowered from 6 to 5. This may seem minor, but you will see the importance of this after I cover the legendary Souljades. Toxin Blast in comparison hits for roughly the same amount as a full Thunder counter with plus 264% Divine Thunder DMG. To reach that you would need Windfall on all 6 Souljades with close to 30% Divine Thunder DMG on each one. As a downside, however, Toxin Blast and Toxified do not scale with Poison Blast DMG nor the amount of poison wielding you have. So poison builds require a lot less initial investment to get going. Now for the legendary Souljades, first is Noxious Blast. When you hit an enemy with Poison Blast, this Souljade will apply 1 stack of Toxified. Do note, there is an internal cooldown on this such that activating Poison Blast on multiple enemies in short succession will only apply 1 stack. Second is Infectious Touch. When you are afflicted with Toxified, your next martial skill or third attack in an uncharged attack string will apply 2 stacks of Toxified to the first enemy that is hit. This third attack also includes the special attack added by Cyan Fong. There are 2 ways for the player to be afflicted with Toxified, through Omens and through the Pestilent Pool Souljade. Pestilent Pool activates when you activate Poison Blast on an enemy. Unlike Noxious Blast, this requires an activation rather than just being hit by Poison Blast. Every 2 seconds an enemy stands within a poison pool, they gain 1 stack of Toxified. Do note that multiple poison pools do not build multiple stacks on the same enemy. Lastly, there is Miasma Drive. Miasma Drive grants a plus 25% attack buff for 18 seconds whenever you apply Toxified to an enemy. Applying Toxified again within this period will refresh the buff. Due to the condition for this buff, it does at least require Noxious Blast, Infectious Touch and/or Pestilent Pool. Now that we understand how each of the new Souljades works individually, let's discuss how they work in synergy. While this may seem like the most complicated set we've gotten yet, it actually ends up being easier than any other set we've had. To begin, you start with attacking the enemy. As you attack the enemy, your Poison Blast will accumulate, until it eventually activates. When it does activate, both Noxious Blast and Pestilent Pool will activate. Shortly after Miasma Drive will activate. As long as you stand in the Poison Pool around 2 seconds, then you should have Toxified applied to yourself so you can either continue attacking normally, aim for a diffuse counterattack or use your Aegis Break martial skill to activate Infectious Touch. After all of this you should have 5 stacks of Toxified applied to the enemy total. This is where Poisonous Assault becomes important. Having that unlocked will allow you to activate Toxin Blast with every Poison Blast on a single enemy. In terms of complete Souljade builds I am still experimenting, but generally on any poison build you want the 4 legendary Souljades. Also beware the Cyan Fong Souljade doesn't work currently on Yuashan, Yodoheim and Tumult because of how their weapons work with uncharged attacks. In terms of potential, you want to prioritize the red tree with the importance being in the following order: Hydros Bound, Poisonous Assault, Healing of Poison, the Divine Doom, Untouchable Talent, Bone-Etched Blast, Armor Guard. Armor Guard is generally advised against because it can end up setting you to 0 armor if you don't properly manage your Toxified status. Furthermore, the healing from Cyan Fong should keep you at high enough health to not be concerned with it. Thanks for watching my video, make sure to leave a comment, like and subscribe if you want more content like this.